My beloved child, today is not ordinary. Today, December 26th, is marked in the heavens, and Archangel Michael has been commanded to speak directly to you. This message is urgent, intentional, and precise. He says, I order you to open this right now. Not later. Not when you feel ready. Right now. Because what you are about to hear is not random content. It is a divine response. You were led here on purpose, and the reason will become clear with every word you receive. Listen carefully. Archangel Michael is standing in authority at the gate of your life, sword drawn, voice firm, eyes fixed on your future. And he declares, you are going to hear some good news. Not wishful news. Not delayed news. Real, tangible, undeniable good news. And here is the part that shifts everything. This good news is directly connected to your last obedience. The thing you did when no one was watching. The choice you made even though it was uncomfortable. Heaven recorded it. Beloved, you may not have fully understood why God asked you to do that last thing. You questioned it. You hesitated. You almost didn't do it. But you still obeyed. And Archangel Michael says, that single act unlocked a sequence. Something moved the moment you said yes. Something realigned when you chose obedience over emotion. And now, on this exact day, December 26th, the order has been released for the result to manifest. Archangel Michael wants you to understand this clearly. Obedience is a key. And you used it correctly. You didn't see the door at the time, but the key still worked. Heaven does not forget obedience. God does not overlook quiet faithfulness. And what you are about to hear, what is already on its way to you, is proof that nothing you did in obedience was wasted. Hear this. The good news is not coming from where you expect. That is why Archangel Michael says, open immediately. Because if you delay, you might miss the moment. This could come through a message, a call, an email, a conversation, or a sudden opportunity. It will sound simple at first, but its impact will be deep. It will solve something you have been carrying silently. It will answer a prayer you stopped talking about. Archangel Michael is also revealing this. The enemy tried to block this release by making you doubt your obedience. He tried to convince you that what you did didn't matter. But it wasn't enough. That you waited too long. But today, that lie is being shattered. The sword of truth is cutting through confusion, and clarity is returning to your spirit. Beloved child, you are not behind. You are not late. You are right on schedule. December 26th is a confirmation date. Something decided earlier in the spirit is now being enforced in the natural. Archangel Michael does not negotiate. When he says, I order, it means resistance has already been overruled. There is also a reason this message feels intense. It's because what's coming will shift your emotional state quickly, from heaviness to relief, from uncertainty to peace. You may even feel overwhelmed in a good way. Tears may come, not from pain but from release. Archangel Michael says, you have been strong for too long without reassurance. And today, reassurance arrives. Pay attention to this. The good news will validate your obedience publicly or privately. Someone will acknowledge something you thought went unnoticed. A door you assumed was closed will reopen without explanation. A delay will suddenly turn into acceleration. This is not coincidence. This is consequence, holy consequence of obedience. And one more thing, beloved. Archangel Michael says the good news is not only about relief, it is about direction. After you receive it, you will know your next step without confusion. The fog lifts. The second-guessing stops. Peace becomes your confirmation. That is how you will know it's from God. So stay present. Stay open. Stay receptive. Do not downplay what is coming just because it arrives calmly. Miracles don't always shout. Sometimes they whisper your name. Archangel Michael is still standing here, watching to see if you will receive this with faith instead of fear. Because what opens next depends on how you respond now. This is only the beginning of what must be revealed to you today. Beloved soul, as this message continues to unfold, Archangel Michael is drawing your attention to something deeper that you may have overlooked. The good news coming toward you is not isolated. It is connected to a chain of moments, prayers, and decisions that stretch further back than you realize. Heaven had been watching the consistency of your heart. Not perfection, consistency. Even when you were tired, even when you were confused, even when you felt unheard, you kept showing up. And that persistence is now speaking louder than your doubts ever did. Archangel Michael reveals that there was a test hidden inside your last obedience. It was not just about doing what God asked. It was about how you did it. You didn't obey with pride. You didn't obey for applause. You obeyed quietly, even while questioning whether it would ever matter. That posture of humility is what moved this moment into motion. Heaven responds quickly to humility, and today is evidence of that response. You may have noticed resistance increasing right after that act of obedience. Delays, emotional heaviness, sudden distractions. That was not accidental. Archangel Michael confirms that opposition intensified because something valuable was scheduled to arrive. The enemy did not waste energy on empty futures. Resistance is often confirmation that you are close, and you were closer than you thought. Hear this carefully. The good news approaching you will correct a misunderstanding. Someone misjudged you. A situation was based on incomplete information. An assumption work against you. But Archangel Michael says truth is being restored to the narrative. What was hidden is coming into the light, not to embarrass you, but to vindicate you. Your integrity will speak without you having to defend yourself. There is also a financial aspect tied to this message for many listening. Not sudden excess, but divine stabilization. Relief. A burden lifting. A way opening where numbers did not make sense before. Archangel Michael says, provision follows obedience. It may arrive through an unexpected source, a delayed payment, a new opportunity, or favor from someone who once said no. Do not limit how God chooses to answer. Emotionally, something is shifting as well. You have been carrying an inner tension, feeling like you had to hold everything together alone. Archangel Michael says that weight is being redistributed. Support will come. Help will show up. You are not meant to be the sole pillar anymore. God is surrounding you with reinforcements, seen and unseen. Now listen closely, because this part matters. When the good news comes, your reaction will determine the next release. If you respond with gratitude instead of suspicion, momentum increases. If you respond with faith instead of fear, more is unlocked. Archangel Michael warns not to let past disappointments mute your present joy. This is not a repeat of old cycles. This is a new chapter with different rules. You are also being asked to stay alert. Not anxious, alert. This is not the time to emotionally check out or spiritually go quiet. Pay attention to nudges, small instructions, gentle prompts. Obedience brought you this far, and continued obedience will carry you further. Archangel Michael emphasizes that speed will matter in the coming days. Delayed obedience delays results. Quick alignment brings swift clarity. Beloved, there is a reason you are hearing this now and not later. Timing protects the blessing. If you had received this earlier, you might have doubted it. If you received it later, you might have missed it. December 26th is precise. Heaven's calendar is exact. Nothing is late. Nothing is early. Everything is aligned. As you receive this message, Archangel Michael encourages you to engage with it openly. If this resonates with your spirit, don't keep it to yourself. Like this message as an act of agreement. Share it with someone who needs reassurance today. Comment with your expectation, not your fear. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and stay connected, because these messages are not random. They are timed. Your interaction is not about algorithms. It's about alignment. And before you mentally move ahead or scroll away, pause for a moment. What is about to be revealed next will bring even more clarity to how this good news manifests and why it had to wait until now. Hold on. This next revelation changes how you see everything that just happened. Chosen one. As this revelation deepens, Archangel Michael is now shifting the focus from what is coming to why it had to be earned through obedience. Many people pray for good news, but few are prepared for the responsibility that comes with it. What you are about to receive is not small, and that is exactly why the process felt heavy. God was not punishing you in the waiting season. He was preparing you so the blessing would not crush you when it arrived. Archangel Michael says there was a refining that took place in silence. While you thought nothing was happening, heaven was adjusting your discernment, strengthening your patience, and sharpening your spiritual hearing. You were being trained to recognize God's voice even when emotions were loud. That training is now paying off. The good news coming to you will require wisdom to steward it, not just excitement to celebrate it. There is something else being revealed now. Your obedience did more than unlock a personal blessing. It protected you from a wrong door. Had things moved earlier, you would have stepped into something that looked right but carried hidden consequences. Archangel Michael confirms that delay was mercy. What is opening now is clean, aligned, and free from the confusion that once surrounded you. You may suddenly realize that certain people drifted away during your obedience season. That was not loss, that was separation. Not everyone was meant to walk into this next phase with you. Some connections were only assigned to your testing season, not your harvest. Archangel Michael says, do not grieve what God removed. Protection often feels like loneliness before it feels like peace. Now hear this carefully, because this is important. The good news you are about to hear will challenge your old self-image. You have grown used to surviving, adjusting, and settling. This blessing will ask you to receive, expand, and trust. It may feel unfamiliar at first. You might even question if it is truly for you. Archangel Michael says that hesitation is natural, but do not let it stop you. You are allowed to step into what God has prepared without apology. There is also a spiritual confirmation coming alongside the good news. You will feel peace instead of adrenaline, calm instead of chaos. That is how you will know this is divinely ordered. What comes from God does not rush you into fear. It anchors you in clarity. If it brings peace, it is permission. Archangel Michael is also addressing something you have been holding back. You have been careful not to expect too much, because disappointment taught you to guard your heart. But guarding your heart should not mean closing it. God is asking you to open again, slowly but sincerely. This good news is meant to restore your hope, not test it. Understand this as well. The obedience that unlocked this moment will soon inspire others. People will ask how you stayed faithful when things were unclear. Your testimony will not be loud, but it will be credible. and credibility is powerful in the kingdom. Archangel Michael says your life is becoming a quiet sermon that speaks without words. As this part comes to a close, Archangel Michael is releasing a confirmation ritual over you. This is not superstition, it is alignment. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, type "I receive the good news" in the comments as an act of agreement. This is a declaration, not for people, but for the spiritual realm. Blessing code 844 has now been released over this word. And now, hear this final instruction flowing naturally from this moment. This message, and others like it, do not reach hearts by accident. They move because people choose to partner with what God is doing. I feel led to speak directly to those whose hearts are burning right now. When you sow into this work through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the link is waiting in the description. You are not supporting a channel. You are helping light reach souls who are still in the dark. Scripture declares that when you sow generously, your harvest does not come back empty. It comes back pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. I am speaking to you personally now. This is your moment to respond. Just as obedience unlocks your good news, generosity unlocks provision for others to hear their own. Do not delay what God is prompting you to do. I declare that every seed sown here returns as clarity, protection, and unexpected favor over your life. Step forward and act now. Beloved one, as the message continues to unfold, Archangel Michael is now drawing back the veil on what happens after the good news arrives. Many people focus only on the moment of breakthrough, but heaven is just as intentional about what follows. This is why this next revelation is critical. The blessing coming toward you is not meant to be a peak. It is meant to be a platform, and how you stand on it will determine how long it lasts. Archangel Michael says that once the good news reaches you, there will be a brief moment of stillness. All is a pause. Do not mistake that pause for uncertainty or delay. It is a divine recalibration. Your spirit will be adjusting to a new reality. You have lived in waiting mode for so long that movement may feel unfamiliar at first. Give yourself grace in that transition. God is not rushing you. He is realigning you. There is also something being restored in your identity. You have learned to define yourself by endurance, by how much you could handle, how much you could tolerate, how long you could survive. But Archangel Michael says that season is ending. You are about to learn how to live without constant pressure. And that, surprisingly, may feel more challenging than struggle. Peace requires trust. Ease requires surrender. And joy requires permission. Hear this clearly. You are not losing your edge. You are losing unnecessary weight. The tension you carried sharpened you for a time, but it was never meant to be permanent. The good news arriving is God's way of saying, you no longer need to brace for impact. You can breathe again without something going wrong immediately after. Archangel Michael also reveals that the blessing coming to you will subtly shift how people respond to you. Some will respect you more. Others may feel uncomfortable around you. This is not because you changed. It is because the grace on your life has become visible. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. You do not need to announce your growth, but you also do not need to hide it. There will be an invitation attached to the good news, not necessarily spoken directly, but implied. A chance to step into something new. A role, a responsibility, a decision that carries weight. Archangel Michael urges you not to default to fear-based thinking. You are not underqualified. You have been trained in ways you did not recognize at the time. Every delay, every quiet disappointment, every prayer whispered instead of shouted, none of it was wasted. You may also notice an increased sensitivity in your spirit. Things that once felt normal may suddenly feel off. Conversations that used to drain you will become harder to tolerate. This is discernment sharpening. The blessing coming to you requires a cleaner environment, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Archangel Michael says to honor that sensitivity. It is not weakness, it is wisdom. Another truth must be revealed now. The good news will not erase every problem overnight, but it will change your position. You will no longer be fighting from desperation, but from stability. That shift alone changes outcomes. When you are no longer afraid of losing everything, you make better decisions. God is repositioning you into security so your choices come from faith instead of survival. You might be tempted to explain your breakthrough to others, to justify why things finally worked out. Archangel Michael advises restraint. Let fruit speak. Let consistency speak. You do not owe anyone a full explanation of what God did in private. Some things are sacred and should remain that way. There is also a warning spoken gently, but clearly. Do not romanticize the old season once the new one begins. It is easy to look back and minimize how hard things really were. But remember this: you prayed to be released from that place for a reason. Gratitude for growth does not require returning to pain. As this message continues, Archangel Michael wants you grounded, not overwhelmed. Everything coming will unfold step by step. You will not be thrown into chaos. You will not be forced to figure everything out at once. Divine order is already established. Your role is simply to stay obedient, stay humble, and stay open. The next revelation will bring clarity about a specific area of your life that has remained unanswered for a long time. What is about to be revealed will connect dots you did not even know were related. Stay present. The unfolding is far from over. Precious one, as this message deepens, Archangel Michael now turns your attention to a question that has lingered quietly in your heart for a long time. You have often wondered why certain prayers seem to echo without an answer, why some doors remain shut no matter how faithfully you knocked. This part of the revelation is meant to settle that question once and for all. What felt like silence was actually protection combined with timing. God was not withholding from you. He was guarding you until you were ready to carry what you asked for. Archangel Michael reveals that there were layers to your request that you yourself did not fully understand at the time. You prayed for change, but change would have altered relationships. You prayed for elevation, but elevation would have exposed motives, both yours and others. You prayed for provision, but provision would have required separation from certain habits, mindsets, or dependencies. Heaven answered wisely by preparing you first, rather than granting you something that would later become a burden. There is a deep emotional healing taking place right now as you hear this. Much of your exhaustion did not come from circumstances alone, but from unanswered why questions. You replayed moments in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently. Archangel Michael says that self-blame is being lifted. You did not miss it. You did not fail the test. You passed more moments than you realize. Something else is being revealed now. During the waiting season, God quietly rearranged your priorities. Things you once chased lost their grip on you. Approval mattered less. Noise became irritating. Solitude became sacred. That shift was intentional. The blessing coming toward you requires inner alignment more than outer applause. You are now able to recognize value without needing validation. Archangel Michael also wants you to understand that your obedience set a boundary in the spirit. Certain cycles that ran in your family line or personal history were interrupted because you chose differently. Even when you were unsure, you did not default to old patterns. A decision broke something. You may not see the full impact yet, but it will become evident over time, not only in your life, but in the lives of those connected to you. There is a sense of restoration coming to your confidence. Not loud confidence, not forced optimism, but quiet assurance. You will notice yourself hesitating less before making decisions, trusting your discernment more. This is because you are no longer led primarily by fear of loss. Archangel Michael says fear has lost its authority over you, even if it still tries to speak. Be aware of this as well. As the good news draws closer, old thoughts may resurface, attempting to remind you of past failures or disappointments. This is not regression, it is exposure. Those thoughts are surfacing because they are about to lose influence. Do not wrestle with them. Let truth replace them. You are not who you were in those moments. Growth has occurred, whether you felt it or not. Another important revelation is this: the blessing you are stepping into will require boundaries. Not walls, but boundaries. You will need to protect your time, your energy, and your peace more intentionally. Archangel Michael says this is not selfishness, it is stewardship. What God entrusts to you must be guarded, not explained away or overextended. You may also feel a renewed desire to return to simple faith. Less striving, less overanalyzing, more trust. This is a sign of maturity, not complacency. Children trust easily. The mature trust wisely. You are entering a phase where your faith becomes calmer but stronger, quieter but deeper. Archangel Michael emphasizes that you are no longer in a season of proving. You do not need to convince God, people, or even yourself of your worth. The evidence is already present. The good news coming is not a reward for perfection. It is a response to faithfulness. As this part comes to a close, take a moment internally to acknowledge how far you have come. Not outwardly, not performatively, but honestly. You endured things you never imagined you could. You obeyed even when obedience cost you comfort. That version of you deserves recognition, because God certainly had not overlooked it. The next unfolding will bring insight into how this blessing connects to your future steps and the role you are meant to play beyond yourself. What is ahead is not just about what you receive, but about what flows through you. Stay open. The revelation continues. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with a tone of steady assurance, because what is unfolding next is about movement. Not rushed movement, not chaotic motion, but intentional forward steps that are finally becoming possible. For a long time, you felt as if you were standing still while everything around you moved ahead. That feeling created quiet frustration, even moments of self-doubt. But Archangel Michael reveals that you were never stagnant. You were being positioned. There is a difference, and today the difference becomes clear. The good news approaching you is not meant to place you back into motion the way you used to move, driven by pressure, comparison, or urgency. This time, movement will feel grounded. You will move because it is right, not because you are afraid of falling behind. That alone marks a major internal shift. God is not just changing your circumstances, He is changing your pace. Archangel Michael explains that in the previous season, hesitation protected you. There were moments when you wanted to act, but something held you back. At the time, it felt like delay or even fear. In truth, it was restraint. Heaven was keeping you from running ahead of clarity. Now that clarity is arriving, that same restraint will lift, and you will notice yourself acting with confidence instead of caution. There is an area of your life where decision-making felt especially heavy. Every option seemed to carry risk. Every choice felt like it could lead to loss. Archangel Michael says that weight is being removed. The good news coming to you will simplify what felt complicated. Not because the situation disappears, but because the right path becomes obvious. Confusion breaks when truth enters. You are also stepping into a season where your voice carries more authority. Not dominance and not control, but credibility. When you speak, people will listen differently. When you set boundaries, they will be respected more easily. This is not about status, it is about alignment. When you are aligned with God's timing, resistance decreases. Archangel Michael wants to address a quiet concern you have been holding. You worry that if things finally go well, something will come and undo it. That fear was learned through experience, not faith. It is understandable, but it is no longer necessary. The foundation being laid now is stronger than what you built before. This blessing is not fragile. It has been tested before it reached you. There will be opportunities to reconnect with joy in simple ways, laughing without guilt, resting without anxiety, enjoying moments without waiting for the other shoe to drop. These are signs of healing, not distraction. Archangel Michael says joy is not a reward you earn after suffering. It is a gift God uses to restore strength. Be attentive to conversations in the coming days. One sentence spoken casually may carry direction. One suggestion may open a door you did not know existed. This does not mean overanalyzing every word you hear, but staying spiritually attentive. Discernment will feel natural, not forced. Now hear this clearly. As momentum builds, there may be people who suddenly show renewed interest in your life. Some will be genuine. Others will be curious about the change they sense. Archangel Michael advises wisdom, not suspicion. You do not need to explain everything, but you do need to protect what is sacred. Access should be earned, not assumed. This is also a season of reinforcement. God is surrounding you with messages, confirmations, and reminders so you do not retreat into old thinking. That is why you were led here again today. Repetition is not redundancy. It is reinforcement. Heaven repeats what matters until it takes root. As you continue to receive these messages, engage with them actively. Like this video as a sign of agreement. Share it with someone who needs reassurance that obedience still matters. Leave a comment declaring what you are expecting God to do. And if you have not yet subscribed, stay connected. These words are part of an unfolding sequence, and staying connected keeps you aligned with the timing. And before you drift from this moment, pause. What comes next will explain how this season impacts not only your present, but the legacy you are quietly building. This is where everything begins to connect. Stay with this. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now invites you to look beyond the immediate relief and into the deeper purpose of this season. What God is doing in your life right now is not isolated to a single moment of good news or a single breakthrough. It is part of a longer story, one that stretches forward into impact, influence, and quiet legacy. This is why the process was slow and the preparation was thorough. God was not just answering a prayer, He was shaping a future. You may have noticed that your perspective has changed over time. Things that once felt urgent no longer demand your attention the same way. Conflicts that would have consumed your energy before now feel smaller. Archangel Michael says this is not indifference. It is elevation. When God lifts your viewpoint, you stop reacting to everything at ground level. You begin to see patterns instead of problems. There is a responsibility emerging alongside the blessing. Not a burden, but a calling to live with greater intention. Your choices now carry more weight because they influence more than just you. Even when you are unaware of it, people observe how you respond to pressure. how you handle waiting, how you treat others when outcomes are uncertain. Your life is teaching, even in silence. Archangel Michael reveals that one of the reasons the good news took time to arrive is because it needed to align with others' timing as well. There were intersections that had to occur, decisions other people needed to make, movements that had to line up precisely. If it had come earlier, it would have benefited you, but limited the reach. And now, it arrives at a moment where the impact extends further than you imagined. There is also healing happening in how you view yourself. You have spent a long time being hard on yourself, measuring your progress against invisible standards. Archangel Michael says that inner critic is losing its voice. You are learning to acknowledge effort, not just outcomes. Faithfulness, not just results. That shift alone restores strength. You may soon realize that you no longer feel the need to prove your value through constant productivity. Rest will start to feel safe. Silence will start to feel nourishing instead of uncomfortable. This is a sign that you are no longer driven by fear of being overlooked. God sees you. Heaven has always seen you. And now, you are beginning to believe that. There is an unexpected expansion of compassion taking place. Because of what you endured, you now recognize pain in others more easily. You listen differently. You respond with more patience. This does not mean you carry everyone's weight, but it does mean your presence brings calm. Archangel Michael says this is part of your assignment. Some people will feel peace simply because you are near. Be aware that as you step into this steadier version of yourself, some relationships may naturally shift. This does not always involve conflict. Sometimes it is simply distance. Shared seasons end quietly. Archangel Michael encourages you not to cling out of fear. What is meant to stay will remain without effort. The blessing connected to your obedience is also teaching you discernment in celebration. You will learn when to share joy publicly and when to keep it private. Not everyone needs access to your testimony at the same time. Timing matters in revelation, just as it does in blessing. Another truth is being revealed gently now. You are not meant to return to the version of yourself that survived the hardest days. That version was strong, but it was also tired. God is inviting you to evolve into someone who thrives without constant struggle. This does not erase your past. It honors it by allowing you to live differently now. Archangel Michael also says that clarity will continue to unfold in layers. You do not need the entire map today. You only need the next step. Obedience brought you here step by step, and it will continue to guide you forward the same way. Trust incremental clarity. God rarely reveals everything at once, not to withhold, but to walk with you. As this part draws to a close, allow this truth to settle deeply. You are not catching up. You are not behind schedule. You are arriving exactly where you need to be, carrying exactly what you need to carry. The weight that once slowed you down is no longer required for where you are going. What comes next will speak directly to how the season intersects with purpose beyond your own life, and how what you receive will begin to flow outward in ways you did not plan but were always meant for. Stay attentive. The unfolding continues. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with great intentionality because this part carries weight in the spirit. What you are stepping into is no longer just about personal restoration. It is about divine circulation. God never releases good news just to end a story. He releases it to begin movement. What arrives in your hands is meant to flow, to teach you how heaven operates when trust and obedience align. There is a shift happening in how you understand purpose. You once believed purpose was something you had to chase, discover, or earn. Archangel Michael corrects that gently. Purpose is not hunted. It is revealed through obedience. You did not find purpose by striving. You encountered it by staying faithful when nothing made sense. That is why what comes next will feel natural, not forced. You are entering a season where your testimony begins to carry quiet authority. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that settles hearts. People may come to you without fully knowing why, opening up about struggles they rarely share. This is not coincidence. You carry empathy refined by endurance. And heaven trusts you with fragile conversations because you learned how to listen in silence. Archangel Michael reveals that there is a ripple effect attached to your good news. One answered prayer creates courage in someone else. One breakthrough challenges another person's unbelief. One obedient step gives permission for others to obey. You may never see the full reach of what your life unlocks, but heaven records it carefully. Be mindful in this season not to downplay what God has done. Humility does not mean minimizing miracles. Gratitude honors God when you acknowledge His work honestly. You do not need to exaggerate or perform, but you are allowed to say, God was faithful. The declaration strengthens faith, yours and others. There is also a renewed sense of responsibility being formed in you. Not pressure, but stewardship. You are becoming more intentional with words, time, and energy. You no longer want to waste what cost you obedience to receive. This is wisdom, not fear. Archangel Michael says you are learning to value alignment over approval. Another truth is being released now. The good news you receive will challenge you to let go of a scarcity mindset. You have lived in almost enough for so long that abundance may feel unfamiliar. But abundance is not excess. It is sufficiency with margin. God is teaching you to trust that provision does not disappear the moment you rest. You may also feel prompted to give more freely, of encouragement, of resources, of presence. This is not because you owe anything, but because generosity is becoming part of your nature again. Pain once made you cautious. Healing is making you open. Archangel Michael says this is a sign that fear no longer governs your decisions. As this part reaches its spiritual climax, a blessing ritual is now being released. If this message resonates deeply with your spirit, type "I walk in divine order" in the comments as an act of agreement. This is not for visibility. It is for alignment. Blessing code 1129 is now activated over this word. And flowing directly from this moment, hear this with clarity and authority. This work exists because God continues to call people to hear, to return, and to believe again. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the link is waiting in the description. You are sowing into fertile ground. Scripture declares that those who water others will themselves be watered, and I am speaking to you personally now. Your generosity is not a donation. It is a prophetic response. Just as obedience unlocks good news in your life, your giving unlocks revelation in someone else's. Do not delay what heaven is stirring in you. I declare that every seed sown here releases increase, protection, and divine clarity over your household. Act now, and let your support become a living testimony of obedience in motion. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now draws your attention inward again, because the next phase of this unfolding is about inner alignment meeting outer manifestation. Many people receive blessings but struggle to sustain them, because the inner world was never allowed to catch up with the outer change. God, in His mercy, is doing this differently with you. He is synchronizing your heart, your mind, and your circumstances so that what arrives does not overwhelm you, but strengthens you. You may notice that your emotional reactions are changing. Situations that once triggered anxiety now invite reflection instead. Conversations that would have drained you now feel easier to navigate. This is not because life suddenly became simple, but because your internal foundation has shifted. Archangel Michael says your nervous system is learning safety again. Peace is no longer something you wait for after everything is fixed. It is becoming something you carry while things are still unfolding. There is a deep recalibration happening in how you trust. In the past, trust was something you extended cautiously, often after being disappointed. Now, trust is being rooted first in God rather than outcomes or people. This shift frees you. When trust is anchored in God, disappointment loses its power to define you. You may still feel things, but they no longer derail you. Archangel Michael reveals that you are also learning discernment without suspicion. There was a time when caution turned into guardedness, and guardedness turned into distance. That was understandable. It protected you when wounds were fresh. But now, God is teaching you how to remain open without being unwise. Boundaries are becoming clearer, not harsher. You are learning where to invest and where to observe without resentment. Another important change is taking place in how you view time. Waiting once felt like punishment. Now, you are beginning to see timing as partnership. You no longer feel the need to rush every answer or force every outcome. There is a growing confidence that what is meant for you will meet you at the right moment. Archangel Michael says this patience is not passive, it is powerful. You may also notice that your prayers are changing. Less desperation, more dialogue, less pleading, more listening. This is intimacy growing. God is not distant from you. He is inviting you into conversation rather than constant petition. You are learning to ask, then rest. To speak, then trust. That rhythm is healthy, and it sustains faith over the long term. There is also a subtle but significant release happening regarding comparison. You have spent seasons measuring your progress against others, wondering why their path seems smoother or faster. Archangel Michael says comparison is losing its grip on you because clarity has taken its place. When you understand your assignment, other people's journeys stop distracting you. You are no longer competing. You are cooperating with God's design for your life. Be aware that as this internal peace grows, you may feel less urgency to explain yourself. Silence will feel more comfortable. You will realize that not every misunderstanding requires correction, and not every opinion requires response. This is not avoidance, it is maturity. Archangel Michael says discernment now governs your speech, not emotion. There is also a strengthening of resilience taking place. Not the kind of resilience that grits teeth and pushes through pain, but the kind that bends without breaking. You are becoming adaptable without losing your values, flexible without losing direction. That balance is rare, and it is being cultivated intentionally in you. Another revelation is emerging now. The good news you received was not the end of God's involvement. It was an invitation into ongoing partnership. God is not stepping back now that things are improving. He is walking with you into this new terrain, teaching you how to navigate blessing with the same faith you used to navigate lack. You may experience moments where joy feels almost unfamiliar, even undeserved. That is residue from old seasons where relief was always temporary. Archangel Michael reassures you that this season is not built on fragility. What God is establishing now has depth. It has roots. It will not disappear because you relaxed or enjoyed it. As this part draws toward its close, receive this truth quietly but firmly. You are becoming someone who can hold peace without apologizing for it. You are learning to live without constant vigilance. That does not make you careless. It makes you healed. and healing is one of the greatest testimonies a life can offer. The unfolding is not finished. What comes next will speak to how this inner alignment begins to express itself outwardly in decisions, relationships, and opportunities. Stay attentive. The message continues. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with firmness and clarity because this stage of the message is about outward expression. What God has been forming within you is now preparing to show itself through choices, actions, and direction. Inner alignment always precedes visible change, and now the two are beginning to meet. This is where many people become uncertain, because stepping forward feels different than surviving. Yet Archangel Michael assures you that you are ready for this transition. You are entering a season where decisions will feel clearer, but also more consequential. Not heavier in a negative way, but weightier in purpose. You will sense when something matters and when it does not. Time will begin to feel more valuable, and you will be less willing to spend it on what drains you. This is not because you are becoming rigid, it is because your discernment has matured. There is a noticeable shift in how opportunities present themselves to you. Instead of chasing possibilities, you will find that invitations come looking for you. Some will be obvious answers to prayer. Others may seem subtle at first, even ordinary. Archangel Michael says, do not underestimate small beginnings. Many divine doors open quietly, testing discernment rather than excitement. You may feel a growing confidence in saying no without guilt. In the past, you often agreed out of fear of missing out or disappointing others. That fear no longer holds the same power. Saying no now protects your yes, and your yes is becoming sacred. God is teaching you that obedience is not only about action, but also about restraint. There will be moments when you are tempted to rush forward simply because things finally feel open. Archangel Michael cautions you to keep your pace aligned with peace, not momentum. Speed does not equal progress. Clarity does. What God is building with you now is meant to last, not impress. Your relationships will continue to adjust naturally. Some connections will deepen as trust grows. Others may remain cordial but distant. This is not loss. It is alignment. You are no longer required to maintain proximity with everyone who once had access. Seasons change, and healthy transitions honor what was without forcing what no longer fits. Another important development is happening in how you view risk. You are learning the difference between reckless leaps and faith-filled steps. Faith does not ignore wisdom. It walks with it. Archangel Michael says you are being taught how to trust God without abandoning responsibility. That balance is rare, and it is being cultivated intentionally in you. You may also notice that your goals are becoming more refined. Less about proving something, more about building something meaningful. You are no longer driven by urgency to arrive. You are guided by clarity about direction. This is evidence that your identity is no longer tied to constant achievement. Archangel Michael also addresses a subtle fear that may arise now, the fear of visibility. Being seen after a long season of obscurity can feel uncomfortable. But visibility is not exposure when God covers you. It is influence when God appoints you. You do not need to force yourself into the spotlight, but you also do not need to hide when God brings you forward. Be mindful of how you speak about yourself in this season. Your words carry weight. Avoid diminishing what God has done or what He is doing. Gratitude honors God when you acknowledge growth honestly. You are not boasting when you testify to faithfulness. You are reminding yourself and others of truth. As you continue receiving these messages, engage with them actively. Like this video as a sign of agreement with what God is speaking. Share it with someone who needs reassurance that obedience still produces fruit. Comment with what you believe God is unfolding in your life. And if you have not yet subscribed, stay connected, because these messages are part of an ongoing flow, not isolated moments. And pause here for a moment before your attention drifts. What is coming next will tie everything together: your obedience, your waiting, your breakthrough, and your purpose. This is where the full picture begins to form, and you will not want to miss how it unfolds. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now brings the message into a place of convergence, where everything you have heard begins to align into one clear understanding. This is the stage where heaven wants you to see the pattern, not just the moments. When you look back, you will recognize that nothing in your journey was random. The obedience, the waiting, the delays, the inner shifts, and even the confusion were all threads in a design that is now becoming visible. You are beginning to understand that God was not only answering prayers, He was reshaping your capacity to receive without fear, capacity to hold peace without guilt, capacity to move forward without constantly looking back. Many blessings fail not because God withholds them, but because the receiver is not yet ready to sustain them. Archangel Michael says that readiness is now evident in you. There is a maturity settling into your spirit. You no longer need dramatic signs to confirm direction. Subtle clarity is enough. You no longer panic when answers take time. You have learned that delay does not mean denial. This confidence did not come overnight. It was formed through repeated moments where you chose trust even when reassurance was absent. You may notice that you are no longer drawn to chaos, even familiar chaos. Environments that thrive on confusion, constant urgency, or emotional volatility will begin to repel you. This is not judgment, it is alignment. Your spirit recognizes what does not match the peace God is establishing within you. Archangel Michael says this discernment will protect you from unnecessary detours. Another important realization is emerging now. You are no longer asking God to prove Himself to you the way you once did. Instead, you are learning how to partner with Him. Prayer is becoming less about convincing God to act, and more about aligning yourself with what He is already doing. This is a significant spiritual shift, and it marks growth. There is also a new steadiness in how you face uncertainty. You may not have every answer, but you are no longer afraid of the unknown. Fear once filled the gaps where clarity was missing. Now, trust occupies that space. Archangel Michael says this trust is not naive. It is informed by experience. You have seen God sustain you before, and that memory now strengthens your faith. You might feel moments of deep gratitude rising unexpectedly. Gratitude not just for what you received, but for what you survived. For the strength you did not know you had. For the lessons that reshaped you. This gratitude is healing. It closes emotional loops that once kept you tied to the past. There is also a greater sense of responsibility forming around your choices. Not pressure, but awareness. You understand that your decisions now affect not only outcomes, but atmosphere. How you respond sets a tone. How you speak influences environments. Archangel Michael says this awareness is part of leadership, even if your leadership is quiet and unseen. Be aware that you are stepping into a phase where consistency matters more than intensity. Small, faithful actions will carry more weight than occasional bursts of effort. God is not asking you to impress. He is inviting you to remain aligned. Long-term fruit grows from steady roots, not dramatic moments. You may also find that your faith is becoming more personal and less performative. You no longer feel the need to explain every belief or defend every conviction. What you know, you know. What you trust it. Silence becomes a form of confidence rather than uncertainty. Archangel Michael wants you to release any remaining guilt associated with outgrowing old versions of yourself. Growth does not dishonor the past, it redeems it. You needed who you were then to become who you are now. There is no shame in evolution. God delights in it. As this part draws toward its close, receive this assurance. You are not standing at the edge of something fragile. You are standing on ground that has been prepared, tested, and reinforced. The season ahead will not require you to abandon everything you learned. It will require you to apply it wisely. The final unfolding will bring this entire message into completion, sealing it with clarity, blessing, and instruction. What remains will speak directly to destiny, covering not just what God has done, but what He is still about to release. Stay present. The conclusion is near. My beloved child, Archangel Michael now stands at the close of this revelation, not to end what God is doing, but to seal it. This final unfolding is not a conclusion. It is a commissioning. Everything you have received up to this point has been preparation for how you will now walk forward. Heaven does not reveal this much without intention. What began with an order to open has now become an instruction to advance. Archangel Michael says this clearly. The good news you heard, the shifts you felt, and the clarity you gained were never meant to stop at relief. They were meant to establish you. You are being established in truth, in peace, and in authority. Not authority over people, but authority over fear, confusion, and old cycles that once dictated your decisions. Those cycles no longer have permission. There is a deep sense of finality being released over certain chapters of your life. Not with regret, not with bitterness, but with peace. You are not closing doors angrily. You are closing them confidently. Some seasons ended without explanation, and that once bothered you. Now, you understand that closure does not always require answers. Sometimes it requires acceptance. Archangel Michael confirms that acceptance has taken root in you. You are stepping into a season where obedience will look simpler but carry greater impact. You will no longer be asked to do what drains you just to prove faith. God is not interested in burning you out. He is interested in building you up. The obedience ahead will feel aligned with who you have become, not opposed to it. There is also a divine covering being spoken over your future steps. Mistakes will no longer cost you the way they once did. Recovery will be faster. Grace will be stronger. This does not mean carelessness. It means God's hand is closer. Archangel Michael says you are walking into a season of shepherded progress. You may notice that you are less reactive to spiritual noise. Not every opinion moves you. Not every warning shakes you. Discernment has replaced fear-based listening. You now recognize God's voice not just by sound, but by the peace it brings. That discernment will protect you from distraction as doors continue to open. Another truth is being sealed now. You are not responsible for convincing others of what God has done in your life. Fruit will speak. Stability will speak. Peace will speak. Let your life be the evidence. Archangel Michael says when God establishes someone, He does not require them to explain themselves endlessly. There is also a promise connected to consistency. If you remain aligned, humble, and attentive, what God started here will continue to unfold beyond your expectations. This is not a one-time moment. It is the beginning of sustained movement. Not rushed, not chaotic, steady and secure. As this message reaches its final seal, Archangel Michael releases a closing blessing ritual. If this word has spoken to your spirit and you receive it fully, type "I am established by God" in the comments as a declaration. This is an act of agreement, not performance. Blessing code 2026 is now activated over your life, sealing clarity, protection, and divine order for the days ahead. And now, flowing directly from this sacred moment, hear this final instruction with clarity and authority. This message reached you because God is committed to reaching others who are still waiting for confirmation, still trapped in confusion, still afraid their obedience was meaningless. When you support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the link is placed in the description. You are not giving to a channel. You are sowing into open heavens. The word declares that those who sow into good ground will reap in due season, and I am speaking this personally over you now. I am inviting you, yes, you, to act as a vessel in this moment. Your support is a prophetic response, an echo of the obedience that already unlocked good news in your life. As you give, I release blessing over your house, your decisions, and your future steps. Do not hesitate. Act now, and let what God has established in you begin to establish others through you.